Surprisingly, I have not said anything about Showdown. You know, like Showdown, as in the current season. That in itself isn't a bad thing, except for the fact that the season ends tomorrow. So to compensate for this, let's make the only video about Showdown a big one by going over a big mechanic this season: politics. You see, each team this season can unlock rewards by completing milestones of Rivalries 1, so I thought it would be fun to go ahead and rank each item you could get from reaching these milestones. And with that pretty simple setup, let me quickly lay down the groundwork for this video. Firstly, we are ranking things from items to anomalies to even a spray. So mainly, I'll be ranking these items for how well they serve as actual awards for completing milestones, rather than how good they are as actual items in the loot pool. Sure, if I like an item, it'll score higher than an item I find stupid and annoying, but how good an item isn't going to be the core scoring metric. And with that, we really don't have much time for an intro since we have 22 items to rank. So let's just get right into this. The worst milestone out of all 22 of these is by far the Orca from Overwatch. This milestone now makes it so that the Orca will fly across the bus when you start a game. The Orca doesn't do anything to affect gameplay, and it is just there for the sake of being there with no other purpose. This was the first reward for Act 3 for Team Foundation, and this was not a good first impression of what's to come. We also later got a free glider of the Orca. So why wasn't that just the milestone instead? Instead we got this stupid thing that does nothing. So why? Why is this here? It's so dumb. It does nothing. I have nothing to say about this. It's just here. It does nothing. At the very least, I could say the Orca looks cool, but it's nothing. This is literally nothing. I'm bundling the Foundation and Ice Games version of the spray here because it's the same reward but a different spray. Okay, what are we doing with Act 3? We have covered 3 of the 6 awards for Act 3, and half of the Act 3 rewards have been in the bottom 2 spots. Epic, what are we doing here? Do you want to take a guess? Just a wild guess about what you get for the final reward of Act 3 and the second to last reward of the entire Showdown? You get a free spray when you log into the game. That's it. That's the entire reward. And that is all you get. Like, what do you want me to say about this? It's just a spray. Let's hurry this up so we can get on to the actual good rewards. Okay, so you know the harpoon gun? The item that's only really used for fishing, and while it can be used as a weapon, nobody really did that? Yeah, well, let's take the item and make it a little bit better. So now it's a better item to use as a weapon, but still just not very good as a weapon in the slightest. Yeah, there we go. That's basically the gist of the enhanced harpoon gun. There's also just not really any good way of finding this item. You just find it. And it's not that common of an item either. I think I got the mythic harpoon gun like 5 times during the entire season. But then again, for some reason they gave this item only 20 uses before it breaks. Meaning that when you do get the rare chance of finding the mythic harpoon gun, you barely even get to use it before it's gone. And you'll likely never use it again for the entire season. Yeah, this spot is very close with the next spot we'll see on this list, and once again, this is just a nothing inclusion. The vortex at New Sanctuary is now open at all times, and it launches you farther. But my main issue with this is that the vortex isn't a new thing to Showdown. The vortex has been at Classified Canyon back in Season 1, and now it's just always open. And the vortex sending you farther just isn't noticeable since it only really sends you about to that one rock. And yeah, this kind of sucks. So the number 18 spot is pretty much just a different version of the number 19 spot, except instead of giving mobility to the new Sanctuary, it's giving mobility to Frigid Fortress. This time we now have slipstreams instead of vortexes, but the slipstreams are pretty much just a launch pad that are on a few cliffs of the ice biome. So these aren't actually slipstreams. When you think of slipstreams, you think of the ones from Chapter 1 Season 9 that take you across the map, but despite these being advertised as slipstreams, these are basically just glorified launch pads. And yeah, I don't like either of these. Next milestone. Once again, I'm bundling the Foundation and Ice King rewards since they are the exact same thing, but for different locations. Now, both of these are key cards that you can find either at the new Sanctuary or Frigid Fortress. They'll both open a vault at their dedicated location that give you a couple of rare chests, a few normal chests, and some slurp barrels. There's also the chance that one of these vaults will contain the Foundation's mythic gauntlets, which are a mythic version of the 7 power gloves that will be a lot higher on this list. My only real issue with these vaults is how you just don't really need to work to get them. The keys are just there. You just take them and open the vault without any real problems or hardships for you to overcome. It's just a bit too easy to get this loot, you know? Not to mention, it's just not that hard to get epic and legendary loot this season. You can pretty much get a loadout with at least one legendary item in the first 5 minutes of a game. So yeah, these items aren't that much of a challenge and they don't give that much of a reward. Mid. This next milestone basically added the equivalent of a rare chest, but for fishing. It's really strange how much of a focus fishing got this season, but adding on to that, we have golden fishing spots, which when you fish them, they'll give you a random purple item and one type of fish, which of course also has increased chances of getting things like the Vendetta Flopper or even the Midas Flopper. Once again, this is the same issue as the vault keys, where it's just not hard to get legendary loot this season. Man, making this video has made me realize that we got a lot of mediocre milestones this season. So let's hurry this up so we can actually talk about the good milestones. Okay, so I think this is one of the only times where we actually got a location as a milestone, or at least an expansion of it. Builder's Barracks is the Save the World location that's tucked away in the bottom right of the map, and hitting this milestone made the location bigger. It adds a few things onto the location like watchtowers and a full-on dock, but come here real quick, I have a secret to tell you. I don't really like Builder's Barracks. It's always just been a fine location for me, so giving it this big expansion just doesn't really appeal to me. If Builder's Barracks is your favorite location, you'll love this. Otherwise, this milestone's just not really gonna do much for you. Finally, onto our first, not you, item, added via milestones. This milestone unvaulted the Recon scanner from Chapter 2 Season 7. First things first, this placement would have been a lot higher if they added the second part of the Recon scanner, which is the railgun. These two items really go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other. Well, we got one without the other, and we got the worst item of the two. Recon is a useful thing to have, but I just never saw myself actually taking the Recon scanner. It's more of an item I would take in early game, and maybe if I had a 6th item slot or I was playing a team mode, I would pick it up, but in casual zero build solos, I just don't really take the Recon scanner that much. Next item. This item falls under the same issue as the Recon scanner, where just nobody really takes this thing. Look, the 7 cannon isn't a bad item, but I just don't think it's in the right season here. Showdown is a season with a lot of wacky items, and that also means a lot of mobility, meaning it's pretty hard for someone to actually get hit by the 7 cannon. I mean, you can compare how this item was in Pacific Break versus how it is in Showdown, and it's night and day. The 7 cannon just works a lot better given the limited mobility we had in Pacific Break compared to Showdown. Once again, the 7 cannon isn't a bad item, it just doesn't mesh well in the loot pool of Showdown. When there's a lot of wacky items, I would rather have any other item over the 7 cannon. finally, we're getting to the items I would actually call good. The Super Shredder Shotgun was added as the first milestone for Act 2, and at first I thought this thing was completely busted and maybe the best shotgun of the season. But after using it for a bit and giving it time, I mean, it's alright. The shotgun does pretty solid damage close up, but the main feature of this shotgun is that you can aim down to do damage at long ranges. So basically, think of this as a worse wrecker. And overall, that's just how I feel about this shotgun. It works as a shotgun, it feels good to use, but I mean, like, at the end of the day, it's nothing crazy, it's just a good shotgun and nothing else. Thankfully, this item does have a place in the loot pool, since none of the other shotguns this season can hit at range. But if you want my ranking of the shotguns, it goes Iron Pump, Super Shredder, Chaos Reloader, Twin Hammer. Yeah, this shotgun is fine, and that's about it. The exotic version of the Vector 7 DMR is a pretty interesting weapon, to say the least. Firstly, I think we need to talk about how you unlock this item. You need to go to New Sanctuary, hire the Foundation, and then get 3 kills without you or the Foundation dying, and then you get the exotic DMR. It's a pretty lengthy process to go to get the gun. So is the gun at least good enough to warrant going for it? The Foundation's Rift Rifle works like a normal Vector 7 DMR, except that when you hold down the fire button, you can shoot a rift. And with that rift, you can either rift yourself into the sky, rift a vehicle into the sky, or rift another player. Whatever you want to do. I mean, the Vector 7 DMR on its own is a good weapon, but like, I wasn't ever using a DMR, and I felt like I would've won a fight if my DMR could shoot rifts. Like, yeah, it's nice to have rifts on my DMR, but having rifts doesn't make my DMR better as a DMR. It just makes it a normal DMR that can shoot rifts. It's like eating bacon and a cookie. Yeah, bacon is good. Yeah, a cookie is good. But you don't really eat them together. They're more of a separate thing. So I mean, yeah, it's fine, just not an ideal combo. Do I really want to get into the cube rifle in this video? Not really, if I'm being honest. What's the best way of putting this? Yeah, the cube rifle is insanely powerful for an assault rifle. It's about on par for Deadeye levels of overpowered, maybe a bit worse, maybe a bit better depending on the day, but it's up there. Basically, you can fire this weapon normally, but then when you go to aim down sights, you shoot a giant cube instead. And would you believe it, this thing can be pretty powerful. But just judging this as a milestone, getting a rifle that can shoot giant cubes at people is a pretty fun item to use, which is kind of what I meant when I said earlier that we're judging these as milestones instead of as actual items in the game. Because this item is a huge change to the game, so no matter how you feel about this item, this is one of the biggest milestones that we've got. So, I mean, it's gotta count for something, right? Yeah, here's where we're putting the biggest milestone of the season. The entire season has been building up to this award, and as I'm recording this, it is still unclear who's going to win the showdown and get this style. Come on, Team Ice King, we got this. But for this big of a milestone, this seemed like the right spot to put it. I mean, obviously this is gonna be boosted up a ton by being the main focus of the showdown, but it's also a pretty nice style for whoever wins. It looks a bit weird on Foundation, but on the Ice King, oh, this looks good. Of course, it's a bit hard to rank this, since as I've already said, as I'm recording this, we don't know who's won the showdown. And if they give both skins the style anyway, then this spot will age terribly. But you know what, let's just put it here and hope this placement ages well. Yes, the 8th best milestone was a pizza. And I mean, like, yeah, pizza is just a good item. Like, are you seriously gonna tell me that you didn't have either a full pizza or 3 slices on you for most games this season? Sometimes you would even find yourself taking 2 whole stacks of pizza because it's just that good of an item. 1 slice of pizza will instantly give you like 30 to 40 health and a few seconds of slap. Even though this item is just a pizza, it is a really good pizza. And as I said before, We're ranking these items based on usefulness and how much they change up the loot pool. And pizza is clearly the best healing item to have this season. So yeah, I think pizza warrants being this high up on the list. Surprisingly, this is our first Rift Anomaly added on the list, and only one of two, technically three, anomalies added. The Escort the Payload Rift Anomaly will spawn a payload on the map, and oh my god guys, look. It's the thing from Splatoon 3. You need to stay in this circle in order to lead the payload over to its destination, and by completing this, you will get 4 Overwatch caches, which give you some of the best loot you can get this season. To start off, the Anomaly is just fun to engage with. The process of escorting the payload is really fun to do, and it doesn't get old. And even if you don't like this gameplay loop for some reason, you should still do this anyway, because once again, it gives some of the best loot that you can get this season, including the broken Overwatch items and several equally broken exotics. So yeah, you should be going for this. It gives you really good loot. The hammer revolver might just be one of the best items in the entire season. The revolver is really fun and satisfying to use. If you've ever used Mr. Blasty in the Simpsons season, then good job, you've basically used the hammer revolver, because these weapons feel almost the exact same. And of course, that is anything but a bad thing, because Mr. Blasty is one of, if not the best revolver in all of Fortnite. So getting another revolver that's just a slightly different Mr. Blasty is still gonna make for a really fun gun to use. Not to mention that you could just combo people with this by hitting chains of shots, which is insanely satisfying to do. So please, just take the hammer revolver. You don't have much time left, just trust me, it deserves to be this high up on the list. The hammer revolver is amazing. The Ice King's gauntlets might just be one of the most insane items we've got this season. These are the mythic gauntlets you get by defeating the Ice King, obviously, and they make you feel like a god. The base attack lets you shoot decently sized balls of ice at the other players, while the second attack shoots a giant ball of ice that leaves a little ice bubble behind that does tick damage. You can tell that a lot of work went into making the Ice King's gauntlets feel powerful, and it worked well because these gloves are insanely fun to use. But of course, my only real problem with the gauntlets are that they have durability. But you know what? I'm willing to excuse that because these items are just insanely fun. And these items feel like they were made for a king. An Ice King. I'm sorry, I'll move on now. Okay, now on the surface, this milestone doesn't seem like anything crazy, with it just adding a few items to the Overwatch caches. But that's what a fool would say, because the items added to these caches might be some of the best items we've gotten during this season. We got the addition of classic items like the Shockwave Hammer, Void Oni Mask, and the Shield Bubble, but also brand new exotics like the Twin Siphon Shotguns, Hop Rock Arc Lightning Gun for some reason, and the Recon Bow. When's the last time we've even gotten a bow in the game? Okay, just checked, the last time we got a bow was back in Chapter 2 Remix. That's how you know they went all out for these exotics, and these made for some insane additions to the loot pool. Items like the Twin Siphon Shotgun and, well, not you, are insanely fun. So adding a bunch of items like this, just casually, means you have made a really good milestone. And oh my god, these exotics were so fun. Easily they deserve to be up here. We've now entered the top 3, the best of the best milestones, and we're starting off with the Stabilize the Rift Anomaly. This anomaly will appear randomly into a match, and going up to it will trigger a little mini boss that you can do, where you shoot a bunch of drones and as a reward, you get a random item from across Fortnite's past. Now, this anomaly is good, but there is one big problem, and that's the loot that you get for completing this minigame, because Epic changed the item pool pretty much every week without actually telling people what items are in and what items are out. One day you'll have the kinetic blade, but then the next day you'll have a kneecapper, and the next day you'll have a wrecker. There's really no consistency, and that kinda drags it down for me. Now, at the current point in the season, this anomaly doesn't even give an old item anymore. It just spawns in an Overwatch cache instead. That's how inconsistent this anomaly can be, and there's no way to pinpoint what you'll get. And just because you got an item from this before, doesn't mean you'll ever get that item again. It's just so unnecessarily confusing, and it probably could have been the number 2 spot if it wasn't for being so confusing. Yeah, the 7 power gloves are one of the best items added this whole season. I mean, like, when you think about mobility items added this season, you think about overdrives. But then you'll also think about the 7 power gloves, because they're that good of a mobility item. The gloves were one of the first items added via the milestones, and I mean, now you can't even think about Showdown without bringing up the 7 power gloves. That's how good they are. The power gloves function as a reskinned Nitro Fist, but without the attack power that made the item so infamous. And this results in a mobility item that functions well and feels really good to use. If you've played this season, you already know how good the gloves are. And if you haven't, well, hurry up. There's a day left. Go play it. I'll wait. Did you like the season? But of course, as good as the 7 power gloves are, there is still one item that I think is better. So let's just go ahead and get into it. The number 1 spot and the best milestone in all of Showdown. Yeah, I think most people knew this was coming. The Reforged Infinity Blade is one of the best items in all of Fortnite history. And I mean, what can I say that hasn't been said already? I'm gonna say things anyway because I'd be a bad YouTuber if I didn't. The Reforged Infinity Blade will spawn as a Rift Anomaly, and the first person to claim the blade will be granted the Infinity Blade, which now takes up 2 inventory slots, has an insanely buffed attack, gives you some insane mobility, and 50 extra health, with health regen over time. The blade just made for such a fun and powerful item this season. Like, the blade was not only fun to use, but it also had a huge impact on the season as a whole. The Reforged Infinity Blade shook up the season, so much that it only feels right that it deserves the top spot on the ranking. So no matter how boring of a pick it is, I gotta give it to the Reforged Infinity Blade for being the best milestone of Season 2. And with that, there's my ranking of every milestone in Season 2. Did you like my list? Do you hate me now? I don't know, go discuss it in the comments section or my Discord, I don't care. Honestly, I'm shocked that I never talked about anything that happened in Showdown. So I thought it would be right to make a video that gives this season the credit it deserves. Until the inevitable Showdown retrospective in like a month or so. But until then, I hope you're as excited as I am for Shattered, and I'll see you guys later in Runners. Wait, is that the burnt peanut?